trying to follow what we have been discussing in terms of the different dimensions of emotions. If you remember, as we have been discussing about different models of describing main cognitive domains in human brain, we discussed about the model that we have been following and kind of expanding, that we have basically two major dimensions: negative valence, positive valence, control, and then we discussed about interoception, attention, memory, saliency processing, working memory, flexibility, inhibition, and what we call metacognition and social cognition, insight, and putting them together. And then we have discussed about how we have tried to help people to understand basically what is happening inside the brain using this system. And mainly what we are discussing today is about what we call feeling bad and feeling good. And these are basically what we have been discussing about the negative valence and positive valence system. And in this model of understanding about what is happening, it is not basically one-dimensional system that we have positive and negative. So we are talking about two separate systems, one negative system, one positive system, that are independently working, but they are interacting with each other as well. So, for example, in this occasion, we have, let's say, 20% of this, and let's say this one is in the 20%, this one is in, let's say, 30%. So they could be independently working, and then they can interact with each other as well. So that is the way that seems that from the neuroscience side, this is the model that people are following. And this is basically what we have in what we call RDoC, in terms of differentiating what we call negative valence from positive valence as two independent, sort of independent systems. And we discussed that people are trying to work in RDoC domains, trying to evaluate different levels of analysis within these different domains. And we discussed about circuits, which is basically the major part that we are interested to in cognitive neuroscience, different behavioral dimensions, different neural systems, how they are interacting with each other within the neurocircuit level. Let me just click on this, and if you go for different, let's say, systems in this setting, you can see that for the negative valence, we have, as you can see here, 5 different subconstructs within the negative system. So, and then for the positive valence system, we have 3 subconstructs. Okay, so we're going to understand these two systems, and these are, as I told you, these are independent systems. And in the negative valence system, as you can see here, we have acute threat as labeled as fear, potential threat as anxiety. So when we talk about anxiety, it's about a threat that is not certain. So there is a level of uncertainty, and it is about something that might happen in the future. So when we talk about anxiety, it's about a threat that might be happening in the future. But fear is about an imminent threat that is here. I mean, the snake that is in front of you. That is an imminent threat. It's called fear. And then we have sustained threat, which is what we call right now chronic stress, or those who have a stress disorder like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or those who have childhood trauma. This is called basically sustained threat. So something that has been sustained for a long period of time, which is called the chronic stress and things related to that. And then we have loss, and then we have frustrative non-reward. What was the other name of frustrative non-reward that we discussed about before? Do you remember that? what was the more, let's say, popular name of frustrative non-reward? It doesn't seem like a really easy name to understand. You can use the chat space and report that. Frustrative non-reward would be almost equal to what we called anger and aggression that we discussed about. So this one is fear, anxiety, stress, grief, and anger. So these are the major dimensions of negative valence system. And obviously you can go and find a specific, let's say, when we talk about frustrative non-reward, we can go for the self-report. What are the self-reports that we have? Frustrative non-reward questionnaire of daily frustration, but you can see that we are talking about aggression, things that are related to that is called. And then, of course, for each other dimension, you can just go for the details. Let's say, if we talk about negative valence or sustained threat, we can go for the self-reports. Things like traumatic experience scale, things like that. I mean, there are different stress, anxiety, life event and distress scale, things like that. These are the instruments that are available there that are related to, let's say, the sustained threat part of the negative valence system. So this is the how RDoC is approaching this, let's say, negative valence system. And there is a positive valence system as well in terms of the reward, response to reward, learning from reward, evaluating reward, and these are the different dimensions related to, let's say, positive valence system. So this is the way that NIH is trying to understand, or NIMH is trying to understand the structure of neural systems that are involved in mood anxiety related disorders, and trying to use this system to be able to differentiate them into different categories or different clusters, with the hope that we can use this cluster to do treatment selection or provide different sort of interventions for people. But in reality, so far, people have not been really successful to be able to use neuroscience to be able to do clustering and to be able to differentiate people, or even trying to, let's say, for those who are depressed, trying to, let's say, find them, group them in 2-3 different groups and find neural correlates for them, and then try to find different sort of interventions for them. But the Drysdale paper that we discussed about was sort of a breakthrough in terms of how we might be able to do these sort of kind of analysis and be able to find these sort of really exciting future outcomes that might be interesting in the field. So this is the way that, I mean, NIMH is seeing this process. So they are not talking about 2 dimension of, let's say, arousal and valence. And even within the valence system, they think that the valence system should be divided in 2 parts. We do not have just a full spectrum of valence from positive valence to negative valence. We have a separate spectrum for positive valence, another spectrum for negative valence. And even within negative valence, we have different independent systems. And in positive valence, we have different independent systems. So it is much more complex than just thinking that, okay, it just has 2 knobs of valence and arousal, and you are just basically changing arousal and valence, and that is it. It is far beyond that. So it is far beyond that in terms of the complexity of this system.